Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Pisces energy, and like usual on this channel we're going to do two rows. The top row will be referred to as high vibe Pisces energy, the bottom row a more worldly, shadowy Pisces energy. We've all got free will and we have to make decisions in our life, and there could be a part of us that wants to align with our more high vibrational nature, but in our more worldly nature of fear, insecurity, or pride, or ego, or immaturity, whatever it could be, it could stop us from moving forward in life, having hope and faith and belief in our dreams. And there could be some people in the world right now that are battling like that within us, but because we have decisions to make in our life, some people are moving forward in life differently than they were before, and they work through the battle within themselves, and they chose high vibe Pisces is about kind of offering yourself that cup of love to work through your emotional confusion and to listen to your intuition and love to guide you, instead of like your fear or your insecurity to guide your decisions, right? So there's going to be some people in the world who are moving forward in life in a more high vibrational way than they were before, and there's going to be some people in the world who are moving forward in a, life's about learning lessons, and some people haven't learned some lessons that some other people have learned, right? We've all been there. So while some people are moving forward in life a little more hopeful and believing in love, some other people might not be. And it's just to see the truth. And we kind of like to hang out with people who are kind of on the same page as we are, have learned some of the same lessons. And high vibe energy is about treating other people the way you like to be treated, being just and fair, being authentic, being who you say you are, operating from a foundation of love versus trying to manipulate or control people. But we've all got lessons to learn, and we will, I think, be drawn and attracted to certain people until we've learned the lessons we need to learn to be more high vibe energy. And high vibe Pisces is about being more independent and no longer caught up in illusion and kind of being more naive or gullible or staying in denial of the truth. Not everybody's motivated by love. Some people are quite immature, bossy, controlling, materialistic, insecure, shadowy, and we need to listen to our intuition. And when our intuition tells us that people aren't who they say they are, or, they still got some lessons to learn in life, we wish them peace and we keep them in the friend zone. So, those are some of the things we're going to be talking about here. We all tap into Pisces energy because it is our emotional, intuitive realm. And, so even if you're not a sun sign Pisces, you could harness high vibe Pisces energy. And people that you know that are a sun sign Pisces might harness a more worldly, shadowy Pisces energy. So let's go see what's going on. Let's go look at the bottom row first. In the bottom row, we have the Tower. So the Tower can be that we are operating from an unstable foundation, which can be all those kind of different things I've talked about. To build a solid foundation, we need to build it on truth and love, not illusion, not fear, not insecurity. And the Tower card is like a major arcana universe card. Things happen in our life to try to get us to see this isn't the right path. This isn't going to work out the way you want. These people are unstable. You're unstable. Whatever truth of a foundation within ourselves or other people that we need to see. But, we have lessons to learn where we ignore, even when all the signs are there, like, oh my gosh, I should quit this job, quit this friendship, quit this relationship, quit living my life this way. We will keep repeating an old pattern over and over and over until, it can take us down to the bare bones where we've really got to think about what is my truth, because if I don't change something soon, things could really crumble all around me, right? So we have the Sun, the Two of Pentacles, the Three of Swords, and the Seven of Cups. So let's see. The Sun is Leo energy. The Two of Pentacles is Capricorn energy. The Three of Swords is Libra energy. And the Seven of Cups is Scorpio energy. But bracketing this storyline are two fixed sign energies. Leo and Scorpio are fixed sign energies. And Pisces, Scorpio is emotional water sign energy. Our Pisces emotional nature is kind of the one that we tap into to help us transition out of ways of living our life a certain way. And we all go kind of on these journeys in life. You know, one situation in our life we've moved on from, it didn't work out. And we want to have these new beginnings is what the Sun can talk about. You know, if a job doesn't work out, we want to go get a new job. If a friendship or romantic relationship doesn't work out, we want to go get a new friend or a new relationship. And the Two of Pentacles can be that, you know, we're still juggling within ourselves kind of what our truth is. You know, initially in the world, Leo is fire sign energy, and Leo can talk about our ego. You know, we got a lot of lessons to learn, and we haven't learned maybe to be more balanced. Both the Two of Pentacles and the Three of Swords can talk about balance. And, you know, sometimes when things don't work out the way we want in our life, we can make decisions more out of ego or fear or codependency or lust or greed. You know, we just kind of can hope that the things we go involve ourselves in will be the answer to help us regain balance within ourselves or feel more balance within ourselves. And then we can go pursue those next things, and the Seven of Cups can kind of talk about, you know, initially it can start out good. The whole point is that high vibe energy is about seeing the truth, and the truth is about loving ourselves. Or we can be in more codependent energy where we look outside of ourselves, like to other people, to be the answer to make us feel more balanced, right? Or if I have enough money or status or ego or attention or indulged enough, then I'll be happy. And that the Seven of Cups can talk about being kind of caught up in the illusion of the world and our ego and our fear and our codependency and all that. And when we keep moving forward kind of in that energy, which we've all been there because none of us popped out of the womb being a perfect human being. You know, we are all more fired up by the world. The Tower can mean we haven't learned to love and believe in ourselves and maintain balance within ourselves. And we are more codependent when we're younger. We look to our parents and our family members and our friend group to help us feel more grounded and stable within ourselves. And it takes going through these life experiences and coming in contact with all these other people to kind of be illuminated to the truth, which is what the Sun can talk about, that if I don't want to keep being codependent on other things or people, because some people can look outside of themselves to other things to be the answer to their problems, like drugs and booze and eating or sex or attention or money or ego, pride, power. You know, they can look to all those things to be the answer, but true, like, stability comes from being more independent and getting out of your more egoic, worldly, living more from your mind than your heart nature, and getting out of being caught up in the illusion. And it's seeing I need to love me. I need to love my own worldly nature. I need to get balanced within myself. The Three of Swords can talk about conflict between our mind and our heart, because there are these things of the world that we want, but because we want some of those things of the world, sometimes we try to work things out with other people, and maybe they're unstable, maybe they're unjust, unfair, egotistical, manipulative. Scorpio energy can, people can harness their Scorpio energy differently. High vibe Scorpio is people who want, which anyone can harness that energy, want to be in more deep, meaningful relationships, and they're curious in their fire sign energy. I want to explore the mysteries of life. I want to even, understand myself, kind of wrap my brain around this game of life. And other people kind of have no interest in doing that. Why would I get consumed or caught up in that? But that is high vibe Scorpio. I want to explore the mysteries of life. And it's also water sign energy. I'm an emotionally complex human being. I can feel great amounts of love and joy and happiness, and what goes up must come down, and I can feel great pain and sorrow and sadness. It's kind of like, am I willing to ride the roller coaster of life? And when things don't work out the way that I want, sure, it puts me in kind of shadowy energy, but it's kind of like getting practice at picking yourself back up again and learning to love yourself during those difficult times. I view high vibe Leo, because it's represented by the sun, as being a loving, nurturing, compassionate person to yourself. And that helps you heal your foundation, which is what the Tower can talk about, and be able to pick up your investment in those prior things, is what the Two of Cups or the Two of Pentacles can talk about. I could have been going back and forth. Other people kind of could have been going back and forth. Do I want to stay in this job, this friendship, this relationship? And then in the Three of Swords, sometimes our truth is different than other people's truth. Again, the Three of Swords comes after the Two of Swords. The Two of Swords can be trying to figure out, is this my truth? Isn't this my truth? And again, we come in contact with all these different people, and they come in contact with us. And the purpose is for us all to get more clear about the truth of the foundation that we operate from. Are we authentic and loving? Are we balanced? Or are we still juggling, don't want to pick a path? I have free will to build a foundation on truth and love, be just, be fair, treat other people the way I want to be treated. Or should I make it more about me and my ego and the world, and live more from my mind than my heart? Would I rather live a life of kind of creating the illusion that I'm loving, but I really don't want to do love because I get hurt? And some people think that the way not to get hurt is I just won't do love. I will create an illusion that I'm a just, fair, balanced, loving person who's motivated and inspired by love, so other people will get in a relationship with me. But eventually the people that they're in a relationship with, if those people are being more authentic, they are more balanced, they are being more just and fair, they are more connected in with their emotions and their intuition. And Pisces energy can talk about, I have a dream of what I find emotionally fulfilling. And it's maybe not this. Building a foundation not based on truth and love. It might look like love, it might act like love, but it's kind of more of a mental construct that someone has created, where you just feel like they're not being authentically loving. Like that isn't what drives them, motivates them. And then for some people, we just realize we're kind of not on the same page, this didn't work. I think our truth is different. I think how we want to move forward is different. And some of those relationships don't work. But some of the more challenging relationships that can make people even seek out tarot and go look and find tarot exists, like on YouTube, is because they've went through something that was really very hard to deal with, when to see through the illusion of someone who you thought harnessed high vibe, Leo, Capricorn, Libra. The Tower card is Aries and Scorpio energy. Someone who you thought you did view as a just and fair and authentic and loving and balanced person who would make good decisions in their life, and in a relationship, when they have to make decisions that affect you, you thought they would make good decisions in that regard. But and for a long time, some of those people would like to be that type of person, and they like to view themselves as that type of person. And for a lot of the time in the relationship, they could have been that type of person. But eventually in a relationship, you can't just kind of create an illusion. Because the people that are in relationship with them who do want more just and fair and balanced, deep, meaningful, authentic relationships could be in relationships with people who are still haven't picked a path. I don't know if I want to do love or not. I'm still defensive. Leo energy can be I'm still defensive. I'd have to detach from maybe my more self-protective nature or my more juggling nature to really invest in someone. I would have to let my more authentic, vulnerable, loving nature out to play in the world. And for some people, that is too big of an ask for them right now. And then it's really confusing because we thought we were in relationships with people who would choose love. The Seven of Cups comes after the Six of Cups. The Six of Cups is where we're working back and forth together, and there can be some trust and faith and hope and faith and belief in the relationship. And we think people are going to add that cup of love to detach from their more defensive nature, materialistic nature, living more from their mind than their heart, maybe being manipulative, maybe being bossy or controlling or fearful. And we thought they'd move forward in love, and everybody's got the free will to do that. But, the bottom row can mean that some people are more tipped out of balance, and some people like an imbalanced relationship because then they can be more manipulative or more bossy or controlling or immature or something, right? And some people's idea of the dream life wasn't ever to do love. I want an imbalanced relationship. I want to be harness these energies in a more shadowy way. I don't really want to do a deep, meaningful relationship. But I have, anybody can have their idea of the dream life, and some people live in fantasy land. Well, I think I should be able to be this way, and people who are more inspired by love and having deep, meaningful relationships, I think they should want to be in a relationship with me. They should let go of their more hopeful, believing nature and love. Maybe because some of these people could kind of be a little full of themselves. Where I could shine bright in the world. I could have power, influence, or be attractive, or have social clout, or have money. And, I could seem like I have justice in the world. And you're supposed to want to be in a relationship with me because of that. That is my idea of what's just and fair. But they could think, because they might have more of these things of the world, male or female, because, some people really don't have a lot to offer in a relationship. They're just full of themselves or narcissistic. That's also shadowy Scorpio. They're unwilling to get out of their narcissism, out of their defensiveness, out of this way of viewing life and relationships. And other people get in a relationship with them And even though they're sad, they felt stuck in the relationship in a way because they saw in the Tower card it was never going to become a more just and fair and balanced, deep, meaningful relationship because that's not the foundation that they operate from. And the Tower, again, kind of talks about at a core foundational level, like what is our truth. And just like some of you could have went through with people you grew up with, people you've known in your life, you just know some people are a little bit maybe more about themselves, caught up more in the world, or things they like to indulge in that they make more important in their life than love. But high vibe people, when they go through those experiences in life, they've learned to kind of be, I kind of view the Sun card, Leo energy, as being like your own best mother, father, coach voice in your own head. I can be devastated and I can stay devastated. Oh my gosh, that didn't work out. Well, the whole thing is, the divine is trying to show us that there was a problem in that relationship. We, in our more Pisces energy of self, might have wanted to live in denial of the truth and stay stuck because we didn't want to have to go get a new job, a new friend, a new romantic relationship, or we just didn't want to live our life differently. No, in my pride and ego, I'm sure this will work out. I'm sure this is a good idea. I'm going to keep living my life this way. And then, things aren't going well in our life. And it's kind of like the universe trying to say, you can keep doing that if you want. That's up to you, but this is going to be the outcome. Over and over and over. And you do have free will. You can either be in your ego and keep insisting, this is a good idea, I'm going to keep doing this. Oh, I'm sure this job will work out, or this friendship, or this relationship. Or I'll keep indulging in these poor habits, and I'm sure it'll all work out okay. It's like, there's consequences for our decisions, and there's some people, where they don't want to kind of believe there are consequences for their decisions. I can make it all work out. And they're kind of living in illusion. If you're not planting good seeds and acting with love for yourself and taking action in a more just and fair and balanced and loving way with yourself and with others, it's probably not going to work out the way you want because you're probably taking action more out of fear and insecurity and codependency and immaturity, and you keep having the illusion it's going to work out okay. And it's like, no, you can't plant bad seeds and have a good harvest. It might look wonderful by worldly standards. Anybody can create an illusion of how wonderful their life is. People can make their life more about these things of the world. That's my truth. That's what I'm going to invest my time, energy, and effort into. Well, you invest your time, energy, and effort into having status or money or something like that. You are going to have those things. Some people haven't realized yet and been enlightened to the truth. What if you get all those things? Because it makes me think of that Bible verse. If I have all these things, but I don't have love, it's like a resounding gong. And then, but people were sure. I'm sure if I make my life about this, not love, not healing, not growing, not maturing myself in an emotional way, I'm going to make my life about these things of the world and my pride and my ego. I'm sure that'll be great. I will look like I have justice in the world. And then they're kind of confused, like, why isn't this, like, Pisces is the 8 and the 9 and the 10 of Cups? Why isn't this as emotionally fulfilling as I thought it was going to be? Why am I still not happy? I drank this, I ate that, I did this, I did that. I hung out with these people. I wore this amount, these clothes. I made this much money. I'm still confused. I still feel unstable. I still might be in my ego. I still might be jealous. I might still be heartbroken. All these things were to be the answer. And I'm confused. Well, we've all kind of went on that journey to some degree or another. And these things that we thought would make us happy, and then it's like, and that the tower in shadow can kind of represent, aligning with our shadowy nature, caught up in the illusion of the world. And the world tries to tell us, make your life about these things, and if you do this, you'll feel like you got justice in the world, and you'll be happy. And then you go do those things, and it's like, wait a minute, I kind of feel, and of course with this like having a dragon there, and kind of reminds me of the devil energy, that I feel like I was deceived and manipulated. And for some of you, you were deceived and manipulated, because some people try to present themselves as being in more high vibrational nature energy, like wearing a false mask, operating from their ego, just trying to maintain balance within themselves, create an illusion they could be much more unstable or shadowy than they try to let on. And they wear this false mask to try to present themselves in the world so that people will get in a relationship with them. And people can put in work and effort to work together with them. But eventually it's kind of like the truth comes out. That, again, what they think is just and fair, you really don't think is just and fair. And a lot of other people probably wouldn't think is just and fair. And that they really got some lessons to learn. They're still juggling, and they could be operating more from their ego. Like, I want to get in a relationship to feel more balanced and stable. I want to try to confuse people about the truth of who I am. Maybe I did something in some other job, friendship, or relationship. I know, I'll go get a new job, get in a new relationship. Then people will view me differently, and then people will be confused and kind of about the truth of who I am, but they're really kind of the same person they were at the last job or in the last relationship. If they haven't done this work within themselves, and they're still I kind of view the sevens as tipping into kind of more in favor of a different way of viewing life. And some people refuse to do that. I refuse to detach from aligning with my more worldly or egoic or defensive nature. I refuse. I turn my back. I find my emotions confusing. I don't want to do them. I will use them kind of in a manipulative way, in a more superficial way, to make people think I am a more loving person than I am. But I really don't even like to connect in with my emotions that much. I prefer to live more from my mind than my heart. I think I'm smart. I think I can just manipulate people to get them to do what I want. And eventually other people in their life kind of see the truth of it. And I was like, this is never going to become a more like emotionally mature, just, fair, balanced situation, is it? So some people, just like other people have, are detaching from certain situations in their life because they see that some of the people in their life aren't willing to detach from an old way of being to give birth to anything new. And the reason for the top rose reading is the Wheel of Fortune, which to me that looks, the feminine figures can represent how we think and feel. And then she looks pregnant. And we all emotionally give birth to kind of a new way of living our life. You know, we live our life a certain way, and it's kind of like we get slapped on the nose, like, you have outgrown that, grow up, or this is not going to go well. And some people are like, shit, I got to quit doing that. I need to grow up emotionally. And I need to give birth to something new. The Tower is about seeing the truth, that this is not a stable foundation to build your life on. And then with this card showing someone like in nature, like with the animals, part of the thing is to go with the flow and accept that, we can like to think we're the boss, but we're trying to manifest things, but like high vibe energy, creative energy versus shadowy energy that tries not to give birth to anything new. The shadowy energy at the big picture is kind of represented by the devil, and the high vibe energy at the big picture, represented by God, is trying to give birth to something new. We could all repeat old patterns of the past. We could all refuse to face our fears, and we could all keep doing the same thing, but we're never going to give birth to anything new. And if we had done that since the beginning of time, we'd all be cave people still today. But we were given our creative, fiery, intuitive, inspired nature. The Pentacles talk about that we have our own unique talents, skills, and interests and gifts that we've been given that not everybody has. Some people are good at math, some people are good at healthcare, some people are into bugs and they write books and do movies about bugs or the sun, or we've all got our own unique things. And then you could look at it like the sun is like we're like our own little shiny star in the universe, right? But unless we're willing to nurture those gifts and heal from past pain and heartbreak, and not let, because there is shadowy energy within us, we have our own shadow nature. Other people can be in their shadowy energy. Shadowy energy in the world doesn't want you in shadowy energy. That, I have to work through this confusion. I am an emotionally complex human being. I do have conflict within myself because there are these things in the world that I want to go indulge in. But High Vibe Leo is about tempering your ego and your more immature nature. Because I have a dream of something I want to give birth to, and I'd like to feel proud of myself. I would like to feel like I keep shedding layers of myself to grow to my full potential. We shed layers of ourselves, age 15 going to 18, 18 to 21, 21 to 25, and we keep doing it throughout our life, if we choose to. And some people, regardless of what happens in their life and how they've kind of sabotaged themselves at times, they still have that hopeful, believing spirit. And no matter what happens, they kind of are aligned with their more hopeful, believing nature. Do they go through down times and emotionally confused and could feel like they're falling apart? And yeah, but they put in this work and effort to stay focused on truth and love and justice and fairness and maintaining balance within themselves and loving and believing in themselves, to work through the emotional confusion of their own fears and insecurities, their own self-limiting beliefs, and other people in their life, in the world, who are hurtful or unkind or unjust or unfair or more ego-driven or materialistically driven or hurtful or unkind. I'm not going to let shadowy energy bring me down. And there's always going to be some people in the world. If you are a more high vibrational person, you are loving and nurturing, you kind of go with the flow, you're not trying to manipulate and control people, you offer, to kind of be more just and fair and truthful and authentic and loving in relationships. There can definitely be some people in the world who don't live their life like that, and they could definitely not like it. And they kind of want to bring you down. And then they purposely might do things out of pride and ego and that are hurtful and unkind and unjust and unfair, in order, if they're kind of more in shadowy energy, they cannot like other people who aren't shadowy energy. I'm purposely going to do these things to hurt you and confuse you because I'm hurt and I'm confused. And I take action more out of pride and ego or being petty and envious and jealous and controlling and manipulative. And I don't want you being in that high vibe energy. Kind of reminds me of fractals, which is what happens at the big picture happens at the small scale. So just like if you were to break a branch off a tree and you stuck it in the ground and you took a picture of it from a certain perspective, it would look like a tree because the tree branch is part of the bigger picture. Well, we can imagine in a world of duality where we refer to it, whether you have hope and faith and belief in or religious beliefs, we do seem to live in a world of duality where some people act like animals in the way they treat people, and some people really seem to walk the talk and act with character and integrity and love, right? So at the big picture, these energies, which we refer to as like God and the devil, are battling. The devil is very prideful and egotistical, does not want to see the truth, that there are other choices. They don't have to keep operating in a shadowy way. But the devil refuses to change. You have to get out of your ego to even admit, maybe I do have some lessons to learn. Maybe I do need to grow up. Maybe I do need to heal. Maybe I do need to look at life differently. Because what I'm doing isn't really working. And we can always try to change other people, but they have their free will and they're free to live their life whatever way they want. And they're going to bear the consequences of those decisions. And when it is shown that some people's truth is different than our truth, it's good to be loving and encouraging and supportive of people, but I have a dream that I want to give birth to. This might be what you want to give birth to, and this is your idea of the dream life. I have seen the truth. This is not my idea of the dream life. So we get out of our ego. We get balanced within ourselves in truth and love. We are emotionally complex people. I love them. I hate them. I don't ever want to talk to them. I hope they call me tomorrow. We have these very emotionally complex, kind of contradictory thoughts all at the same time. And so, because we are this emotionally complex human being, it can be very disruptive and very challenging for us. But we keep offering truth and love to it, kind of standing up for our truth, and they're standing up for their truth. And sometimes kind of what we find, and it can be confusing for everyone. Some people who are more bossy or controlling or immature could wonder, why do I keep doing that? I could have loving, encouraging people in my life, and I keep sabotaging the relationship. Well, they have to get motivated within themselves to even want to work through that emotional confusion. And it takes work and effort. And some people are like, forget it. I'm just going to go do this again or find someone else or go get a different job or whatever. I don't even want to work through the emotional confusion of it. And so they keep repeating an old pattern, and then they could wonder like, well, why do those people's life seem to turn out better? And they could kind of get in their ego and be a little competitive or jealous or envious. But the thing is, the other people did do the work to work through the emotional confusion and the conflicting thoughts. And they got to the truth of the matter. And then the truth sets you free. That you have learned the lesson you were meant to learn from that phase of life, to take the lessons that you learned with you, just accepting the truth that everybody is where they're at. I can't change people. They have probably shown me the truth of what drives and motivates them, and in their way of viewing the world, what they value, what's important to them. And it could be they're protecting themselves at all costs. It could be that it's supposed to be all about them. You're not supposed to love yourself and have your own dreams. You're supposed to make your life all about them. And they're like, oh, isn't this great that I have someone who kind of sabotages themselves that's just going to make their life all about me, male or female. And that's some people's idea of the kind of relationship they want. Well, they're going to have to go find someone else because you realized that wasn't you. And then, everybody thinks that the choices that they're making, because the Wheel of Fortune, you're either going with the flow, which in high vibe energy, it is willing to have hope and faith and belief in yourself and in love and in others. But it is seeing the truth that it is supposed to be just and fair, and you are supposed to treat other people the way you want to be treated, and that if people are not doing that, you don't stay in your ego trying to change other people. You might know some people that are doing that in their life, and we've probably all been there before. Everybody's on their own journey, has to learn their own lessons in life. We've all had to learn some things the hard way. Some other people are going to have to learn some lessons the hard way. And we wish them peace, and we stay in the energy of love. And we just go with the flow and not trying to force things to go the way we want. That would be operating from ego. Well, I want to balance this out. I'm heartbroken. And the other person's like, yeah, and I don't want to. For what, and it can be these confusing reasons. I mean, like I say, it could just be they don't want to do love. That means they're going to enter the danger zone. They don't want to step outside their comfort zone and give birth to something new, because that would mean they are stepping out of their comfort zone. It's unknown territory. Pisces is also represented by the moon card, which can be going into unknown territory. The opposite of the moon is the sun. Some people like to stay where they know how everything works out. I know how to do this. Do I maybe not like this job? Am I heartbroken at this job? Am I confused? Is it unstable and grounded? I'm going to stay here because I know how this works. If I were to go somewhere else, I'm moving into unknown territory, and I don't know how everything works. And I would have to kind of love and believe in myself and believe I have the resources and the capability and to listen to my intuition to guide me. And some people don't like to do that at all. I want to stay where I know how things are, and I might like to control things so I feel like I know how things are. I don't like people being more independent. I don't like people being more creative and inspired. Kind of traits of high vibe Pisces energy. If they want to go be more independent or step out of the comfort zone, they can go. I'm going to stay here. This is my comfort zone. We can't make people detach from an old way of living life or viewing life. They have to decide that on their own. And when we're ready to detach and move on in life differently, we're ready. And sometimes some people are ready to move forward in life differently, and some people aren't. So then, up in the top row, we have the Five of Wands, which is kind of interesting because it seems to have a dragon. 2 dragons, actually, and, 3. And then the Hierophant. The Five of Wands, like the sun, is Leo energy. We can have inner conflict. Everybody can have inner conflict about moving forward in life differently, being more bold and brave and confident, facing their fears, detaching from living in one location to moving to another location, going to college, moving to a different town, taking a different job, not hanging around certain people that they used to hang out with. You kind of got to go. It can cause inner conflict. But the high vibe people offer themselves love and encouragement to work through that inner conflict. So they have this inner conflict, but they offer love and compassion to themselves and the situations that they're in to keep. In high vibe, the 7 of Cups is ready to have that new beginning. In the Six of Cups, I was repeating this pattern, but I'm ready to have that new beginning and move forward. And then the Hierophant can talk about our philosophy of life. I had a way of viewing the world at all these different ages that I've been. I viewed the world a certain way. I viewed myself a certain way. I viewed other people a certain way. I viewed relationships a certain way. But I don't view life like that forever. You know, my perception of myself and the world around me, hopefully I incorporate these lessons I've learned into my philosophy of life. And the Hierophant is about our philosophy of life, and it kind of dictates the decisions that we make in our life. It's kind of like the Supreme Court in our own head. Our shadow nature and our hopeful believing nature argue and battle, kind of behind the scenes, kind of maybe in our subconscious. And some people decided, my philosophy of life is I want to keep doing life the way I've been doing it. And other people are like, something about it maybe didn't seem to be aligned with my truth. Shadowy Scorpio, it can seem superficial and shallow. I might want a more deep, meaningful relationship, or people are being hurtful or unkind, unjust, unfair. And that's not my truth. And I could have inner conflict about going and getting the Hierophant. Taurus energy can represent all these different institutions of the world, from workplaces to organizations to family dynamics, religion, all these different institutions of the world. I do kind of have inner conflict about maybe detaching from one way of kind of living life to living life differently, but I am ready to give birth to something new emotionally. And then high vibe Taurus energy can be that I am going to walk the talk, and I have found that my truth is different than some other people in some situation I was working with. And I want to work together with people who I feel, Taurus is also earth sign energy, just like Capricorn, but where people do put in this work and effort to hold themselves accountable to a higher standard. Because high vibe Taurus is being a spiritual leader in the world, very enlightened, where you do walk the talk. Other people try to create the illusion like, oh, you should get in a relationship with me. I'm like a Hierophant. I'm a pillar of society. I have a certain status or image or wealth or blah, blah, blah. And you should want to get in a relationship with me. But then that's the illusion they create, but they're hiding, they harness these energies in a more shadowy way. And what they probably didn't know about some of the people that they came in contact with is that those people harness them in a more high vibrational way, and they didn't know it. And one person is more willing to go with the flow, which is growing and healing and maturing yourself as time goes by. And the other people try to maybe force the wheel of fate to go in their favor, using their emotions or their looks or their charm or their money or whatever they got going on. So with these cards not showing itself, what some people, we can meet all sorts of different people in the world, right? And everybody's kind of looking for people who they kind of think are maybe more on the same page as them. If they're more prideful, materialistic, live more from their mind than their heart, they might want to get in relationships with people who are like that. If they like to manipulate people, if they like to try to tear people down so they don't love and believe in themselves, so they'll keep staying in a relationship with them even if they're heartbroken. For some people, that is the goal. Just don't ever leave or require me to grow up and heal and mature myself, right? Some people in the world don't realize that some people are no longer harnessing these energies in a more shadowy way. And when they did this work within themselves to figure out, why would I possibly stay in some of these situations where I feel people aren't really walking the talk and they have some inner conflict about really walking the talk? Maybe even just getting in a more formal commitment. Well, they did this work within themselves to figure out, because they don't want to repeat this pattern. I don't want to get out of one relationship and just go get in another relationship, but I haven't figured out what it was within me that kind of made me drawn and attracted to those situations in my life anyway. I had lessons to learn from that situation. I want to learn it so I don't go back and do it again. And it isn't, well, those people wouldn't change, but say we chase after people who are prideful or immature. Well, those people wouldn't change, so I'm just going to go find another immature, prideful person, and I'm going to try to change them. No. We'd have to figure out, why am I even drawn and attracted to prideful or immature people, or whatever the situation was. What wasn't I seeing the truth of? I want to see the truth, and what could it have been within me that drew and attracted me to them anyway, right? So what some people don't know about you, and they could be trying to figure out, is if you do harness these energies in a more shadowy way or not, or more high vibrational. And what some people don't know about you that you might work with, or in your community, or people you were in a relationship with, you've detached from harnessing these in a more shadowy way, and you've detached from the people in your life that harness those in a more shadowy way. And you were willing to do that. If there was people who are being competitive, basically, because you're either being just and fair and truthful and authentic and loving, or you're kind of operating from pride and ego and you're in competitive energy. And you stood up for yourself. And you did this work, and you were willing to cut some of those people out of your life. And that's why some people have some inner conflict about moving forward with you, because they also would have to detach from harnessing these energies in a more shadowy way, and maybe cut some people out of their life that like them to hang out with them and align with them and live their life the way they live their life. And they have a problem cutting some of those things out of their life. The Knight of Cups and the Queen of Pentacles. Well, for one, the Knight of Cups I view as Pisces energy. And it's going that direction, kind of repeating an old pattern. And the Queen of Pentacles I also view as Taurus energy. And it's a feminine figure, so that can just mean people would have to emotionally grow and mature themselves, whether they're male or female. When they're holding one pentacle, it means that they have been enlightened to the truth. Shadowy Pisces energy can be that, we still kind of want to indulge ourselves in the illusion. And there could have been people we wanted to be in relationships with, that we could have wanted to marry, that we did marry. People in our family, and we wanted that dream to come into reality with them. We didn't kind of want to see the truth. But it got to be where we couldn't ignore the truth anymore. And so people had to do this work within themselves. If I have a dream I want to bring into reality, my dream can't come into reality if I keep taking action towards people that don't want to give birth to something new. And I have to be willing to see the truth of it, quit living in illusion. If people were motivated to want to walk the talk and invest in giving birth to kind of being on the same page as me, they would be. And if they're not, they could also, we have to see the truth, there could be people we could have communicated with to have a new beginning with, and they said, sorry, I'm already moving on, or got a new job, got a friend group, in a relationship. I'm already in relationships with people like that. And I'm about ready to give birth to something new. It's like, well, we got to deal with the truth of it. And we could be sad. And, maybe a dream that we had with someone isn't going to work out. But we deal with the truth of it. My dream isn't codependent on a certain person being in my life. And some of those people aren't in my life. Some of those people have showed me, we don't view things the same way. My dream can only come into reality with people who are on the same page at the same time as me. And so if you know there's some people that weren't willing to get out of their ego to learn lessons in life, grow up, be more emotionally mature, a king and a queen would be more mature than a knight. That could be work maybe hiding. They are more immature or codependent or unstable. They could have been looking for a loving, nurturing person to be in a relationship with, to make them feel more stable and grounded. But they have a lot of growing up and maturing to do. And then they can kind of be competitive, and shadowy Taurus can be bossy and controlling. Or they just have all these rules and regulations in their head about, well, no, you should do this and I should do that, and you should act like this and I should act like this. It's like, how about we just move forward in an energy of love? Oh, well, no, there's these certain rules and regulations and these ways I was brought up and the way I view the world, and we have to conform to that, or, that's what makes me feel maybe safe and secure. And other people, again, are like, if you want to make your life more about competing in the world, more about ego, more about yourself, or more stubborn, and you're not someone who's willing to kind of just go with the flow and let love and intuition guide you as you go, then we're kind of not on the same page. And so you kind of let go of your illusions about some people and aren't taking action towards those people anymore, or maybe investing much time, energy, and effort and not taking romantic interest towards them. And some other people, maybe they just like to keep their options open too and juggle, and they don't want, again, the King and Queen of Pentacles is the only marrieds through the deck. There's some people that kind of juggle and don't want to be just and fair, want to kind of more indulge themselves in a relationship and not willing to get in more formal commitments. It's like, well, then I hope you enjoy the people in your life who are willing to stay in a relationship with you being that way. But that's not my truth. And I'm going to stand up for what I believe in. And I believe as I keep moving forward in that energy, I will meet other people who have been in relationships with people who are harnessing this energy in a more shadowy way, that don't want to be in relationships with people like that either, that are more on the same page as me. And I am looking to work together with people who are in that energy. And those are the people I am currently investing my time and energy into. Can I be loving and encouraging to everyone in the world? Yeah. Am I going to get in a more involved relationship with them? No. Not unless I think we have the same philosophy of life and are kind of on the same page and have gotten out of aligning with these things from the past or our ego or whatever, I'm ready to give birth to something new. What's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Pisces energy that they might not see coming up? The King of Swords. Why? Because of the Six of Cups. So the way I view that is that because love is the answer, when people offer love to the pain, the heartbreak, the emotional confusion, all these different people that they've dealt with in their life that are all somewhere on the spectrum of some being just and fair and loving and nurturing, that are like role models for us, other people that are kind of more on the shadowy end, and all the people in between, they offered love to it. To just, the Six of Cups can just be, I've reconciled myself with the past, that, there's, in shadow, the Six of Cups can be that some people are more, it's Scorpio energy, where people are more emotionally shallow, superficial, and immature. And they're going to keep living their life like that. And it's kind of just and fair because that's where they are at emotionally. And that's how they view the world. You can't shove someone out in the world to be a more emotionally mature, just, fair person in the world when that's not where they're at. They don't have the foundation. They do not have the foundation to be that type of person. So, you just, in the King of Swords, you see the truth. And because the truth is love, and love is to be just and fair, you see the truth about people in your life who maybe you don't think are very just and fair. Their idea of what's just and fair is fine. They can live their life like that, but that's not your truth. You have a different idea of what's just and fair. And some people could be really, they could kind of live more from their mind than their heart, but because emotionally they operate more from ego and they're not, the kings can represent taking action in the world in truth and love and standing up for what you believe in. And some people got a lot of emotional issues to work through before they are ready to stand up for themselves and like speak their truth and just be more just and fair in a relationship. And you just see the truth of all of it. And you got out of your ego about it, Everybody is where they're at. I wish them peace. Their truth is their truth. I have my truth. And I made peace with the past. And because of that, you can detach from the past. It doesn't have that hold on you. And you're able to give birth to new things. The other people haven't worked through those things. It still keeps affecting them. They haven't worked through their ego or their fear or their insecurity or their controlling nature, or these illusions they have about themselves or the world or relationships. And because they keep thinking that's the truth, they keep taking action on that truth, and they're not willing to see the truth. So it keeps not really working out. They want to give birth to something new, but they keep repeating the same patterns because the truth sets you free. When you look at life differently, when you've healed, you've grown, you've matured, you've worked through your past pain and heartbreak, you've gotten more balance within yourself, you've worked through some of your emotional confusion, then you do look at life differently. And then you're kind of not the same person that you were before. And then you do kind of have a different philosophy of life. And you maybe are willing to stand up for what, speak your truth. And you're ready to give birth to something new. And some people have no interest in ever giving birth to anything new. I just want to keep doing what I've been doing. It's like, okay. So, and sometimes we have to go through all this process kind of internally. And then when we're ready and we have reconciled ourselves and worked through those things, we have detached from those things and we're ready to kind of get King of Swords is Libra energy represented by the scales of justice. We're ready to get the justice we deserve. And I am ready to emotionally, take action in the world, kind of standing up for what I believe in, standing up for my more emotionally loving, intuitive nature. I can be friends with lots of people, but if there's anybody, the Five of Wands can mean competition and people who want a new beginning with you, you're going to speak your truth about your philosophy of life. And unless your intuition tells you that those people are speaking the truth and they've reconciled themselves with some issues in their past, that they have detached from their more immature, worldly, materialistic, or whatever way of living life to be more balanced, those are the people you'll move forward with. And the people who you don't think have done that, they're not getting past your Hierophant, which is like the Supreme Court in your head. Now, you're not coming over here for me to get in a more involved emotional relationship trying to, it's just not going to happen. They have to be speaking the truth. And they have to be balanced and loving and authentic. High vibe Scorpio is people who let their inner child out to play in the world because they've gotten out of their ego and their fear to be more just and fair and balanced, and they see the truth. If I want to be in a relationship with someone who's authentic and loving and just and fair, I need to be authentic and loving and just and fair. And some people refuse to do that. Some of them just don't want to be just and fair. So what's coming up for some people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Pisces energy that they might not see coming up? Not half the deck. No, no, no. Okay, we have the Chariot and the Five of Swords. The reason that came out is because of the Eight of Cups. You know, there's some people in the world that have mental conflict about the truth and about change, because the fives talk about change. They've been in relationships with people who are more emotionally balanced and hopeful and believing in love in Cancer and Pisces energy. But they have mental conflict with that. Again, because the Five of Swords also is Aquarius energy, kind of like Pisces energy, where the 9, the 8, the 9, the 10 is Pisces energy. They had their own ideas of how they wanted to move forward in life that they thought was like living the dream life and would be emotionally fulfilling. But we've either healed and we're taking action in truth and love, or some people think, well, can't I just create the illusion that I'm loving and that I believe in that dream, and then I can move forward with people who believe in that dream? That would be great. But both people have to have hope and faith and belief in that dream, because otherwise one person is kind of walking the talk and putting in work and effort to build a foundation on truth and love, and the other person is still trying to build their foundation on defensiveness or ego or indulgence, and a house divided can't stand. And then there's some people, you know, at one time they could have moved forward more in the energy of love, but then somewhere along the way they could have decided that, you know, if they made their life either more about themselves or money and materialism and looking like a shining star in the world, that would be more fulfilling than love. And they made their free will decision. And I think if they keep making that decision in their life, at any given time, they're going to have more high vibrational people in their life who would like to move forward with them, who have love for them. But eventually the high vibe people in their life, you know, it's like seeing the truth. We have different dreams. You know, how you want to move forward is kind of creating the illusion of love. And I really want to be in a relationship with someone who is authentically loving, not just quacks like love and walks like love. And for some people, it's like what's most important is to have these things of the world, to have a certain ego and image. And the Chariot can talk about looking like they're moving forward victoriously. And I just don't think it's going to work out the way they want. Or if people are willing to stay in a relationship with them, you know, if people are bossy, controlling, manipulative, full of themselves, you know, there can always be other people who are willing to stay in a relationship and kind of indulge them. But I don't know that those people are necessarily staying out of love either. It might be more out of fear or insecurity or codependency, or for the ego and the image and the money of it also. And some people think they're so smart, you know, and this way they view the world, that if I do this and this and this, I'm going to look really victorious and successful, and that'll be living like the dream life. And they just have not been awakened to the truth, and they can't maybe figure out why other people's lives seem to be more balanced or more at peace or more balanced within themselves, between their emotional nature and they're more worldly nature and more balance in their relationships and more deep, meaningful, authentic relationships. And they try to maybe get people to move forward with them. I don't know. They just don't get it. And they're going to have to go through some more life experiences. It's, again, some people could ignore their emotional nature, like that's unimportant. Or I tried that before, people broke my heart, and so now I don't even want to deal with those issues. And in our pride and ego, we can think, I don't have to deal with those things. I can just move on and like put it behind me. But it affects how they act in a relationship and the decisions that they make in that relationship. And then the people they get in a relationship with kind of have a problem continuing to move forward with them in a relationship because they see the truth that you have some issues that are affecting how you act in this relationship. You might think you don't want to deal with it, and the longer they keep not wanting to deal with it, I kind of think the more emotionally confused and conflicted they'll be. Kind of like cognitive dissonance. So there you go, Pisces. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.